So welcome to the Sit Down with Stephen Taylor. Good to have you along. And today joined by Christina Nomdo, the Western Cape Children's Commissioner. Christina, is that right? You're the Western Cape Children's Commissioner?
Yes, good day. This is Christina Nomdo, and I'm the Commissioner for Children. Actually, that's the title.
Okay. Well, the way I
It's
said it wasn't
established
far
by a
off.
law, you see.
Yeah. So tell us about, before we go into your new role that you've been in for about a month now, well, just over a month. Tell us about you, who you are, where you grew up, where are you? Are you from Cape Town? Tell us about you, where it all started for you.
Well, 1 month exactly today that I'm in the role. So it's been an exciting month. And yes, it's preceded by sort of 30 years of work in the child rights and youth development sectors in this country, and of course, learning from international experiences. Grew up on the Cape Flats in a community known as Belhar, quite close to the University of Western Cape. So
Yes.
that's
I
a
know where that
marker
is.
for people. Yeah. So I lived there for most of my life. So that's really what shaped me and my experiences as a person.
So tell us about, I mean, Balha, there must have been quite a lot of challenges for you growing up in that area. Tell us about some of those challenges.
I think it's a typical Cape Flats community. So there's the effects of obviously forced removals and impact on identity of community. But I must say that there is a very strong sense of community in Belhar. You know, everybody looks after each other and they take everybody's interest to heart. I think that the effects of social ills, gangsterism, drugs, the effects of socioeconomic rights not being met in those areas really shape the reality and the lives of people, and especially children growing up there.
So we recently had Youth Month in June. So obviously that touches base on a little bit of children's rights, but obviously the big one for you coming up is November, 16 days of activism against the abuse of women and children. But why are we not having this all year round? 16 days is fine. Why only 16 days? Should we not be protecting our women and children throughout the year? Christina.
I don't subscribe to any of those days, actually.
Yeah.
As a child rights activist, and definitely in my office as the Commissioner for Children, you can count on my activism 365 days, 24/7. So I don't believe that we can get stuck in these awareness raising days, because we must move beyond awareness. You know, we must start to make shifts in our society that goes beyond being aware that we have violence. I think that we can tick that box. Everyone in South Africa is aware we have violence.
That's
now
true.
Let's start doing something about it.
That's true. But you know, we have these 16 days of activism against abuse of women and children. We have media that goes out about this person, that person. But every year we seem to be fighting the same fight. Nothing changes. What are you hoping in your role as the Children's Commissioner to change? And what is your mandate, by the way? What are you able to do and what are you not able to do? Tell us that.
Okay, so I think that I'm definitely going to start championing that we start talking about violence prevention in a very real way. We need to start putting resources towards violence prevention. And we have a science that really helps us do that. And the basics of it is, if you build resilience and decrease risk everywhere that a child lives, so in their home, in their school, in their community, in the society, on the television, if you build resilience and decrease the risks that they face, we will see a change in relation to the well-being of children. So my mandate is around this championing of children's rights, but in the oversight role, in an oversight role where I actually am the mechanism that watches what government does. So I have particular departments that fall within my mandate: the Department of Education, Health, Social Development, Cultural Affairs, and Sport. Those are excellent departments for realizing socioeconomic rights, but also for fighting violence. So I'm very happy to have that mandate. Broadly, I should monitor, investigate complaints, do research about children's rights and their well-being, lobby decision makers, educate the public about children's rights. And my personal favorite is involve children in everything I do.
That's right. That's right. And I actually had this conversation with you a few days ago where I said to you, no, Christina, the children are the future. And you said, no, the children are the now. We should think of the children in the now, not in the future. Put me in my place, Christina. Come on.
Well, I think that's what you can depend on me for, to maybe jolt a little of those staid cultural norms that we are so married to, those things that keeps things at its status quo. I'm definitely going to affect the status quo in society. You can depend on me for that. I'm going to challenge people to think of children and childhoods differently. It's only if we're going to come from a different angle, a different perspective, that we're going to make change. Because repeating the same thing over and over and not getting a difference, I think there's a famous quote about that somewhere.
So tell me about, when last did the Western Cape have a children's commissioner? And why haven't we had one?
So in actual fact, this is a historic occasion for the country. We have never, ever in the country had a commissioner for children.
Wow.
And the Western Cape is the first ever province to establish a children's commissioner.
Wow.
These bodies are established by the Constitution. So they have to have been inserted into the constitution of a province or of a country.
Yes.
And the Western Cape made that commitment 20 years ago already to have a commissioner for children.
Sure.
Last year in 2019, they published the law that created the mandate of the office and the powers and duties of the commissioner. And soon Parliament then started the selection process to find this commissioner. I think we started almost at 60 candidates, and it was a rigorous process of finding the correct person. And I said to them at the end of that selection interview, it doesn't have to be me, but just choose the correct person, one with professionalism in this field. I want this to be integrity, professionalism, not based on other factors that we see so prevalent in appointments in our country.
Yes. So, Christina, what took us 20 years, man? Hey, gosh.
Political will is a very stubborn thing. So
I know.
Politics,
I know. Jeez.
You're going to have to direct that to the parliamentarians.
Yeah. No, I know.
But I'm very happy that it eventually happened, and the children's sector is very happy. And I was recently I was welcomed into the family of children's commissioners. There are quite a few children's commissioners, for example, in Europe.
Really?
There are over 30 children's commissioners in European countries.
Wow.
They even have a forum.
Wow.
Tomorrow, I speak with the Children's Commissioner of India.
Wow.
So I've started to reach out to my the friends and the family who are now form part of this wonderful forum of people who have said that they want to champion children's rights in this kind of office.
That's amazing. But now, Christina, we sit with a big challenge in South Africa with regard to, I know that you only focus on children, but women and children's rights in South Africa is a big issue. We think of, I mean, there's many names, Tsitsipatse Pule, there's Courtney Peters, I think it is. There's so many names that come to mind. Recently, years ago, as I said, we kind of keep spinning the same wheel, getting the same result, and then going on into the next year and saying, then we get people coming out and saying this and that and this. but nothing is changing. So what can we do as a society?
Yes, I think just to touch on your first point, the perspective from a child rights approach that domestic violence affects both women and children simultaneously. Because in that same household where a woman is being victimized, a child is watching or is co-victim to that violence.
That's true.
So I never divorce the two, you know, and I think that's what we try to do. We take children, we try to silo them, or try to silo a particular service we present to children, rather than seeing children as holistic and and societies as interlinked and intertwined. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. Just last night I was having this discussion. There's a lot of things that we can do around domestic violence. Yes. We don't need to do the big marches to raise awareness anymore. We need to look into ourselves. Yes. We need to look at how we are perpetrators. We need to look at how we are generating and reinforcing these norms of patriarchy. We need to look at masculinities in this country and the toxicity of the masculinities we produce in this country. Yes. We need to look at how we raise girls and boys. So look no further than your own household to change gender-based violence.
True. So true. On that note, Christina, we're going to take a break. It is, wow, the first half of the show. It goes so quickly, man. So we are in conversation with the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape, Christina Nomdo. It is the Sit Down with Stephen Taylor. Please interact at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back in a moment. So welcome back with a Sit Down with Stephen Taylor. We are in conversation with Christina Nomdo, the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape. Apparently the first one in South Africa. Christina, is that right? The first Children's Commissioner in South Africa?
The first ever Children's Commissioner in South Africa. That's correct.
That is actually quite sad and shocking in many respects, because for years we've been having this conversation of children's rights, women's rights. But if we just sit back on our hands and do nothing, nothing's going to change. So I'm happy that we have a Children's Commission, and I hope that other provinces will follow suit as well.
Absolutely. I think that we are sort of in the Western Cape building this model of the Office of the Children's Commissioner, and we would definitely share our experiences very widely, even across the world, about creating an Office of the Children's Commissioner in the political South. I was just talking about that political South earlier also. I think that in the political South, we have particular challenges for children.
What is the political South? I'm blonde.
The political South, you're lost.
I am. I'm like, hey, man.
So we have countries that are well-resourced and run sort of the global economy, right? Okay. They have good infrastructure, their programs are in place, government works well, there's responsiveness, you know, varying levels of corruption still, but still the infrastructure is good. They have the fiscus, the money to be able to support programming and services to children. But then you have the political South, where histories of colonialism have really impacted on the resource base. Histories of apartheid in our own country have marginalized the majority of our people and created a set of circumstances in which children grow and develop, which is not optimal for their well-being. And so the challenge is for me to connect with my colleagues, more especially in the political South, to try to find out how they approached almost this seems to be insurmountable challenges of children's rights violations, if you get what I mean.
No, I do. But I mean, if we bring it even closer to home, to more Africa, I mean, how many times have we seen those adverts, donate 5 Rand or 10 Rand or donate whatever it is to help a child in Africa? That's not going to help anybody, because we need to actually get to the roots of the issues. We need those governments working together. We need children's commissioners like yourself in those countries to work with the children, to protect the children, to to hear the children, to give them a voice. And that so much, in many respects, is lacking in society, because many times children are screaming from the rooftop but are not being heard.
Absolutely. And I said before that this is a particular passion and skill set of mine. I've worked very extensively with children's participation rights and to build processes to give children voice. I always say I'm not the voice of children. I'm champion of children's rights, but I'm not the voice of children. I'm slightly too old for that, like a couple of, more than a couple of decades.
You said that, not me. You said that, not me.
So we need children to speak for themselves.
True.
And as you rightly point out, it's not as if they have not been raising their voice. The actual problem is with us adults, we don't listen.
Yeah.
We don't listen.
Yeah.
So when children tell us that the uncle is touching them inappropriately, we don't believe them.
That's
we
right.
don't listen. We take the part of the adult. We cover up for the actions of the adult. We prefer to believe that the child is living in a fantasy world. Even if the child is crying out for help with that statement, you need to respond for that cry for help, to that cry for help. And so that's in the child protection space. But for me, what is much more exciting also is children's active citizenship. I would like children to be very involved in governance processes. So governance is this relationship between governments and the citizens. And guess what? Children are citizens too. So they also need to be consulted about the plans of government, about the programs of government. And in the laws around children, it says that children need to be involved in every decision that affects their life. That's their right in law. So we need to be building systems and structures to enable that to happen. So in my office, from the very first day of office, I have built a program called Child Government Monitors. And I've used this method before. So we train children to understand the rights of a child, and not just superficial conversations and this is how you must feel if you have rights. No, how to read the Constitution, how to read the African Charter, how to read the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, how to be able to reference that to claim your rights.
I like that.
The structures and functions of government. Who are the three branches of government? What are the levels of government? What are the services each level of government is supposed to provide for you? How do you read a budget book to understand the programs, the indicators, the outputs that you are entitled to as a citizen? So we teach children all these things around governance. And then we also try to prepare the adults who will need to engage on an equal front then with children. Not as cute little human beings, but as capable, active citizens. And so I think that's been a project that I've run over and over again for over 15 years. And we see enormous benefit in that. For example, prior to this, I was the National Planning Commissioner for Children's Rights.
Oh, wow.
And children, I went around to 9 provinces and spoke with children, workshopped with children, and children were part of the review of the National Development Plan. Their National Development Plan input is on the website of the National Planning Commission. So, you just need to know how to talk to children, when to talk to them, and how to interpret what they're trying to say to you in the milieu of governance.
But I mean, I just want to say 2 things. Firstly, when we talk about giving children a voice, in society, what goes around all the time is children should be seen and not heard. That's what we hear all the time. That's what we're told. Children should be seen and not heard. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. I think it's that one. But secondly, your role as the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape, I know that there's a minister in the presidency that deals with women, children, and disabilities. How different is it? Did you work in that space as the national planning, or how was it different?
The National Planning Commission is a special advisory body to the president. So
yes.
the president appoints the National Planning Commission as an advisory committee. And we were appointed about 5 years ago to that committee, and me specifically for my child rights input. And so we would report directly to the president, and he would then, share with his cabinet whatever we would bring to him. But we were sort of advisors to the president. That role needed to end when I took this role, because the law says that I can't hold two positions around governance at the same time. So I ended that role in May and started this one in June. Your first point around children should be seen and not heard is exactly the problem with our society. Child participation, children's voice, is a violence prevention strategy. Creating a new understanding of how the power balance of equality and dignity rights needs to play out in our society will affect the culture of violence in our country. So this power over and controlling and silencing, this is what's getting us into trouble. This is what we need to change. So those mindsets, those belief systems, that's the things that I'm going to tackle in my office.
I like that. And then, Christina, I want to ask you, what is difference between you as the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape and the work that the Department of Social Development do? Because they have obviously jurisdiction to remove a child from the home, place them into care. Is your role similar, the same, or different?
Different.
Okay.
I really want to make it clear that I am not part of government. I'm not even a government employee.
Oh, really?
My role is created by the Constitution and a law.
But you're paid by government, right?
Paid by the provincial fiscus.
Okay.
Right? So paid by public funds. Yes,
Okay.
paid by public funds. But in the same way, Parliament is not government.
Yes.
That same way, I am not government. I have a different role to play. So let's take that example that you had about a child being removed from and put in the child protection system. Somebody would perhaps lay a complaint with my office and say, there's a child in need of care and the Social Development Department did not act swiftly and correctly to address the needs of that child. They would write a complaint. I would write to the head of Department of Social Development and the Minister of Social Development in the province to report to my office on that exact procedure that of that particular case, so that I can make sure that all processes were followed accurately according to what is prescribed to them by their mandate and their law. And then I also aggregate these cases. So for example, if I receive 10 cases with similar complaints, I look at those cases together and I say, there seems to be fundamental flaws within our child protection system. This needs to change, that needs to change, that needs to change. And so one of my mandated powers and duties is to provide advice and recommendations for how systems need to change. So you can see that the role is very different. It's an accountability measure, and it's that watchdog over government to make sure that they're doing their best for all of us.
I like that. But you know what, Christina, as in anything in life, time is, it just goes. Time is, that's gone. We don't know. So I wish that I could sit here for another half an hour, another hour talking to you, but we definitely have to make a plan to get you on again. But thank you, Christina Nomdo, the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. And keep up the good work. And I know that you've only been in the role for a short time, but all the best, and don't let anything stand in your way.
Thank you. I really need all the encouragement and the well wishes and the cooperation of society to make a difference. So I do appreciate it. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Another episode of the Sit Down with Stephen Taylor in conversation with Christina Nomdo, the Children's Commissioner in the Western Cape. Get in touch on social media at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, Puppy. Thank you, crew. God bless. Take care.